BrianTheBlue, and welcome back to Current Calamities, where I take a break from the past to look forward to the future with the games of the present. You probably notice I'm in a different part of the basement this time. That's because I'm trying to get into the spirit of what we're playing today. Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, a big compilation of popular games that involve boards, cards, and a table. More often than not. This is actually the successor to the first Clubhouse Games released for the DS back in 2006. I was able to get it recently, but now it's in the hands of Mama Blue for her enjoyment. As some of you may know, I was going to review this months ago, but then Mario had a birthday to celebrate. But now, since there really isn't anything notable to look at, it's time to look back and show y'all what you've been missing. This is a full calamity, as I'll try to look at all of what this game has to offer. So let's sit back and embrace the screams and frustrations of when we lose. I'm not sure exactly where to start when there's 51 games to choose from, but we might as well start with the selection. On the surface, it looks very interesting, with plenty I know from real life experience, with a couple I've never heard of, or a few I wouldn't care to play at all. I'll stick to playing what I know for now, like for example,
4 in a row.
Y'all will more than likely know this as Connect 4, but Nintendo can't use the copyrighted name, so you gotta go with the generics. The game is still the same, where you have to drop your pieces and try to get 4 of them in a horizontal, vertical, or diagonal row. There's plenty of strategy involved, and I consider myself pretty good. I got strats, but I will say it looks pretty damn good looking for being a simple virtual representation of a board game. It's like I'm actually there. Next game I want to highlight is Yacht Dice, but before we get to it, I just want to point out before you play any of the 51 games, there are cutscenes that show you a small showing of the game you've chosen. They can range from humorous to cringy.
You win by playing all the dominoes in your hand.
Now you tell us!
At least one of them is proud to be there. There's also a how to play section if you want a better explanation, but anyhow, Yacht Dice or Yahtzee is one of those games that is played a lot in my mom's side of the family, as well as Progressive Rummy, but that's not on here. The object is to try and get the dice to match any goal on a score sheet, and you'll get subsequent points as a result. I'll tell ya, I get really competitive with this game. I even for a spell had this portable handheld. It really was the family game. After a while, it can be clear when somebody may win or lose, unless you get that real rare occurrence of a Yahtzee. But most of the time you'll be putting a 0 in that category. That's only 2 games, there's still 49 to cover, and I'll try to touch on them all categorically, and we'll start with the ones with the theme of familiarity. Like I said, there are several games I'm familiar with, even if they're named differently, like Last Card or Royalty-Free Uno. Probably the most popular game on this compilation in the modern day. At least it could be if people knew it was what it was. A couple of the card games like Blackjack, Texas Hold'em, and Matching I know from other past gaming experience. But speaking of which, several of these games give me real vibes of Wii Sports and Wii Play. I used to play those back in the day, so I would definitely associate the golf and bowling games with Wii Sports. Golf does use the same layout that's well overused but never gets old, and bowling just gets better as the motion controller tech advances. You can also play it with the touchscreen if you choose, and you might keep getting strikes that way. But nothing really beats the feeling of throwing the ball behind you. The shooting gallery, fishing, billiards, air hockey, and tank games definitely remind me of Wii Play. Updated for modern times, about half the library is here to enjoy, and I enjoyed that quite a lot. I'm still a crack shot at shooting gallery, and fishing reminded me of Animal Crossing as the fish look very similar, and I would only notice that as I played more than 365 hours on it. Other games I knew were Renegade, another game I learned inadvertently from past gaming experience. Checkers I played several times and it's simple to understand. Backgammon I learned a year or 2 ago, and found out how to play it better on here. And Ludo, or what me and my cousins know as Trouble, is our favorite board game to play when they're in town. But there are quite a few that I never heard or played before, and as I tried some of them for the first time, a few of them have become my new favorites. Of the new ones I tried, those that were enjoyable were actually at the very start of the list. Mancala looked complicated but is very simple. It's pretty fun and has strategy anybody could learn. Dots and boxes I'm surprised I didn't learn about when I was in grade school. More than likely past my time, but I can get behind it, even if it could get to an unfair advantage. Hit and blow is quite the brain tease. Trying to figure out the correct color and position of the peg can be infuriating, but rewarding if you do figure it out. I don't know how I feel about Nine Men's Morris. It's simple but also can be really unfair. We'll visit it again later as I figure out my opinion. Hex is very simple, and I actually knew about this one somewhat from the game show Blockbusters. Take away the trivia questions and you have Hex. I also got up to speed on games my parents had, like dominoes and darts. Both my parents have these games, so I was able to freshen up on how they're played, especially with darts, which I mastered rather quickly thanks to those motion controls. Makes me feel much better than playing the actual thing. At least I'm good at one version. A couple of the games have different rules and variations, so keep an eye out for that if you want to play them differently. Most games have them, like the card games. The rest of which I tried I found to be pretty interesting and fun. The toy-themed games were cute. I appreciate boxing and slot cars as they loosely harken back to my childhood, and a couple of the remaining board games took me by surprise with how simple and fun they were. But they're not without challenge in the case of Gamoku. And don't get me started on the 6-ball puzzle. That's my jam! As much as I like all the games that are on here, there are a few that I could do without. I can understand why you would include games like chess or shogi twice, but I mean, did you really have to? These games are better in my opinion to watch rather than play, as they're just so complex compared to all the others. If it is your cup of tea, more power to you, but I would have preferred something better like Crossword, or Sea Battle, or Progressive Rumming. Mahjong I don't exactly get, but I guess I'd need to invest more time into it. I don't like sliding puzzles as they just mess with my brain, and I'm still recovering from the Origami King's use of that trash. I still don't know how I feel about Nine Men's Morris as it can be unwinnable at a point. It's interesting though, so it's on the fence. What I absolutely despise is Hare and Hounds. That game is nearly impossible to win if you're the Hounds. It really shouldn't belong, and neither should 3 versions of Solitaire. Why were there even 2? Oh, and also, the title lied slightly. There is a 50-second game of sorts with the piano. Take that cardboard Labo piano and shove it in the garbage because now you got the same thing on the screen. I'd rather be playing anything else really, but if you're stuck on deciding what to play, you can let the press of a button decide for you, or get certain pieces that have picked a few games under a common theme. You may be surprised with what you find. Like, did you know Nintendo had history making Hanafuda cards back in the 1800s? They're that old. That's all that Clubhouse Games has to offer. 51 or so games with a majority I find to be quite enjoyable. Out of all of them, I would say 80% of them are worth playing or trying out, especially if you can with others. Then you can try out special features that I wasn't able to cover. I wonder if board game giants are taking notes and would try releasing their own compilation, but bigger and retro. Wouldn't mind seeing what a Milton Bradley or Parker Bros compilation would look like. Just imagine playing Crossfire or Ouija. So with all that being said, what's my overall opinion? It can sometimes be tough for a big compilation game of this type to hit their entire selection out of the park. While it's not perfect, ND Cube has managed to nearly do just that. Take away the overly complicated or unfair or boring games, and you've got over 40 out of 51 solidly fun and interesting games. Some provide a good challenge, while others are entertaining or frustrating, depending on if you end up winning or not. I can't wait to see if there's more to come from Clubhouse Games. As someone rightly pointed out, that number 51 looks like it could be expanded on. I wouldn't know by how much, but one of them better be progressive rummy. I'll save you the trouble of having rum in the title, Nintendo, and call it progression. So what do you think? Do you agree with me, or have your own thoughts? Let me know by leaving a comment. If you like what you see, like the video with those thumbs up. If you think anyone else would like this vid, share it around. And if you want to see more of me, this show, and others, hit the subscribe button. I'm BrianTheBlue, thanks for watching. I'm going back to the past, and until next time, I'll see you in the future.